welcome to another Warhammer 40k Mordian Glory video, and today guys we're going to be taking a quick look at the new Heavy Intercessor squad. Games Workshop has announced yet more Primaris models will be released, and if you thought Tactical Marines were too soft and you thought Intercessors were for pansies, then now we have the troop choice for you, the Heavy Intercessor squad. These boys are chonky. They are pretty impressive. But, well, the internet has gone kind of mad over them. Oh, more Primaris. The internet's gone a bit like, oh, you know, these guys are ridiculous. More power creep for the Marines. In some ways, they are right. In other ways, they are wrong. It's a bit of an interesting one. So, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to have a look at these Heavy Intercessors, give you my initial impressions, but I'm going to do it from the point of view of an Imperial Guard player. Someone who will be on the receiving end of these guys. So how do the new Heavy Intercessors affect the Astra Militarum? That's what we're going to take a look at today. So first thing, let's take a quick roll through the stats. So movement 5 inches, weapon skill, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, toughness 5, wounds 3, attacks 2, leadership 7, 3+ save. So difference between these guys and Intercessors is they've got an extra toughness and an extra wound. But they're still the same armor save. Still 3+. Now they also come with some interesting new weapon options. They have a choice of 3 bolters. They get an Executor bolt rifle, a heavy bolt rifle, and a Hellstorm bolt rifle. And they can basically take one kind of heavy bolter as well. So your basic heavy bolt rifle is range 36 inches, rapid fire 1, strength 5, AP -1, damage 1. Okay, so in terms of what's the difference between this and a regular bolt rifle from an Intercessor, extra 6-inch range, extra strength. You can take heavy bolter, we all know, it's 36 range, heavy 3, strength 5, AP -1, 2 damage now. Then you've got the Hellstorm bolt rifle. This seems to be more about volume of shots. So the Hellstorm bolt rifle's got a 30-inch range, assault 3, strength 5, AP nothing, damage 1. And the Hellstorm heavy bolter is like a regular heavy bolter, except for it's got 1 extra shot, 6-inch less range, but no AP. So it's like, do you want more shots at less range, no AP? I don't think the Hellstorm heavy bolters. I mean, maybe it'll be okay in the Devastating Doctrine. I'm not too sure about it, to be honest. And then you've got the Executor heavy bolter. You've got the Executor bolt rifle, which is like a souped-up Stalker bolt rifle. It's got 42-inch range, heavy 1, strength 5, AP -2, damage 2. And we've got the Executor heavy bolter, which is like a, you know, less shots, more AP, more damage, basically. So these guys, if you look at the power level, one power level tends to equal about 20 points. So if you do that and you do the maths, it comes out that each one of these guys should be between 28 to 30 points. So about roughly they'll be about 8 to 10 points more than a regular Intercessor. And they'll be 10 to 12 points more than a 2-wound Tactical Marine when the 2-wound Tactical Marine comes out. So what does that all mean? Well, they're tough and they have objectives secured. That's really the big thing here, guys. I don't think you'll see a lot of people taking the special weapons. I think most people will be totally fine with taking the heavy bolt rifles. And that would be the one, that would probably be the one that I would go for, the heavy bolt rifles. The rapid fire, because it's rapid fire 1, when you stand, when the Marines stand still, they will get bolt discipline, and so they'll get 2 shots anyway. So I don't know about you, maybe I'm wrong. You kind of have to choose, do you want to have 2 shots with an AP -1, or do you want to have 3 shots with no AP? So I think most people would say AP -1, because then when you get into tactical doctrine, you'll be AP -2, which is pretty good. It's a difficult. I think all the different weapons have got good options. I think all the different new rifles are fairly well balanced. I think if you're going to have, how I would run these guys if I was a Marine player, I'd have maybe like a squad of each. So if I'd have a squad of them or I would build them for a purpose. So if they're going to sit on my home objective, I'd probably give them the bolt rifles, the executor bolt rifles, the big ones, because they're not going to have to move them, and they're going to be able to sit back, heavy 1, strength 5, AP -2, 2 damage, and just slam hard-hitting rounds into enemies. And those are probably, in a funny sort of way, the executor bolt rifles are quite anti-meta because they're damage 2. The rest of these bolt rifles are only damage 1. So they're not that good for actually chewing through like tough infantry, like custodians and other Marines. These heavy intercessors are almost like anti-Marines. They're really anti-Heretic Astartes when you think about it. So that's the interesting one. Don't forget, these executor bolt rifles will be AP -3 in the turn that they start. That's pretty good. If you put them in the hands of an Imperial Fist or Iron Hands, one of the two, they'll be damage 3. Woo! Strength 5, AP -3, damage 3, turn 1. That's the bingo. So these guys are tough. They have the firepower. They're kind of expensive points wise, but one thing that a lot of people have been saying is, what about if you take 10 of them? Because you can take 10 in a squad. And that's a really interesting point when you think about it. That's 30 wounds, toughness 5. That's really hard to shift off an enemy objective. If you're playing a 4 objective mission, and there's 2 in the middle and 1 in each deployment zone, if your opponent takes 2 squads of these guys and puts 1 on his home objective and marches 1 onto one of the middle field objective, you're never going to shift him. You're never going to shift him. You're going to fire. Because think about it. What about if he takes an apothecary or 2? Takes an apothecary. Every time you kill one of these guys, we'll just get one back up again. So I think they're really good. I think it's a really strong thing for Marines. I think their advantage comes in their durability. I think they've got the same firepower. Yeah, they've got some decent firepower. But I think their main advantage is they're going to be really, really tough to shift. They're going to be horrible to shift. And that's for anyone. Now, they do have a couple of weaknesses. So, initially I looked at this and was like, these guys are bullshit. And they probably still are. But they do have a couple of weaknesses. First one is they only have a 5-inch movement. Which means if your opponent takes these things as his main infantry force, he will actually, unless he's going to want to start advancing all over the place, he is going to not have a great time getting onto objectives. You know, although saying that, pop them in some impulsors and jump. Yeah, see, I think if you're going to run these guys, you want to get them up the field, you might want to consider an impulsor. Then they're kind of expensive, impulsors. So it swings and roundabouts, but impulsors give them the mobility they need. But just looking at them in a bubble, they're kind of slow. 5-inch movement isn't a lot. That means it will take them like 2 turns. At least 2 turns to get onto a midfield objective. So they're slower. They're slower than guard. You know, they're slower than most infantry. So that's one disadvantage. Second disadvantage is no matter how you swing it, they've only got a 3+ save. Okay? They haven't got an invulnerable save. So whilst they are hard, they are susceptible to just massive amounts of firepower. They don't have an invulnerable save. They don't appear to have a way of getting an invulnerable save. So if you think about this, if you take your equivalent point of plasma guns against these guys, you could get 6 plasma guns for each heavy intercessor, just straight up plasma guns, and that's 12 shots at close range. Obviously, you've got to pay for the guys to wield them, so You can get 3 plasma guns wielded by guardsmen. That's 6 shots. You know, they're just going to cut. If you ignore cover, these guys are only getting a 6-up save. You know, one squad. You know, they are tough. Don't get me wrong, but you know, for a 10-man squad, you're going to pay 300 points, which is a lot. But it is basically 300 points to secure objective. But with no invulnerable save, they are susceptible to just being. You know, at best these guys have a 2-up in cover. Imperial Guard can take astropaths. We will remove their cover. Then you're like, oh, okay, so they're just on a 3-up save. And lasguns still wound them on 5s. Think about that for a second. Toughness 5 is not... It's interesting, toughness 5. For the Imperial Guard, toughness 5, when we're shooting at units with toughness 5, it's not a bigger deal for us. Because guess what? A lasgun wounds a toughness 4 model on a 5, or it wounds a toughness 5 model on a 5. So these guys are no tougher against lasguns. No tougher whatsoever. Now they are tougher against plasma, because it means our plasma will only wound them on 3s. So they are tougher against plasma. But the good old Demolisher Cannon tank commanders, still wound them on 2s. Sweet, sweet strength 10. So toughness 5 makes them no more drawable against our small arms, and it does make them more drawable against our big guns. I will admit that. So, but you see, there's sort of like there's 3 small disadvantages there that you can leverage. Now, the problem is that, like I said, how the hell are you going to deal with these guys? You know, 10. The enemy takes 10 and puts it on the home objective. They take another 10 and just march them across. They'll just combat squad them. You know, take 2 squads of 5 if you have to, and just march them across the field. 30 wounds on each objective, and the enemy still has 1,400 points to just spend on as much killing potential as they want. What these units are really good at is basically saying to Marine players, take a couple of these units, nice big chunky units, or take 4 small units, take about 20 heavy intercessors, and then don't worry about objectives. Just take those, sit them on a couple of objectives, then kill things. And the Marine players will be like, okay, I'll do that. Because these guys, it's not like these guys aren't dangerous. They still have great firepower. So, they are good. Now, interestingly, against Imperial Guard infantry, these guys are no better than regular intercessors. Because they've got strength 5 guns. So if we take a look at that heavy bolt rifle and compare it to the regular bolt rifle, the only difference is, yeah, they've got an extra bit of range, but we're on a small board now, so everyone's in range all the time, aren't they? So basically, the difference between for a guard infantry player is it's got strength 5 versus strength 4 between a heavy bolt rifle and a regular bolt rifle. Well, guess what? That still just wounds our guardsmen on 3s. No difference. What it does do is make a difference for shooting our bigger stuff. So things like tanks. So previously, the Lehman Russ was able to sort of still absorb a bit of bolter fire, not much, but a bit of bolter fire, because toughness 8 allowed it to only get wounded on 6s by bolt rifles. Now they get wounded on 5 and 6s. So another nail in the coffin for the old guard armour in 9th edition. Starting to see a bit of a pattern when it comes to what Games Workshop, going back to the old. But basically, from what I can see, is Games Workshop wants us to go back to using pure infantry, and I'm happy to oblige. Big problem with these ones is the strength 5 means they're going to start wounding Bulgrins on 4s. That's annoying. Gives them a better, because Bulgrins are a really good thing that we want to lean on as guard at the moment. And Bulgrins are really good at absorbing small arms fire, and if these guys are slinging out strength 5 shots, it's going to be a problem for the Bulgrins. So what we might find, guys, crazy as it sounds, Bulgrins I think will be really good in a lot of games, but we might be taking another step on the road to the 7th edition Guard Army, which was, if everything dies easily, then I might as well just take loads and loads of infantry. And I think that's what we're seeing here. If we look at heavy intercessors, we take them as like a microcosm of 9th edition. These guys aren't that resistant to small arms, but they are resistant to big things. And they're better at killing big things, but they're no better at killing regular guard infantry. You put all that together, and what that's saying to me is I should just start running 300 guard infantry again. And just give as many plasma guns out as I can, and just shoot the crap out of them. That's what this is telling me. I don't know about you guys, that's what this is telling me. The only other thing from a guard perspective to say is that they don't have great close combat potential. They're no better at combat than a regular intercessor. So, in terms of countering them, that's the biggie, isn't it? How do we bloody kill them? Well, you need to start thinking about damage 1 weapons are just, you know, like I've talked about lasers being okay against these things, but they're still only damage 1. You know, if you're lucky, it might. Each guy, it could take 2 or 3 guardsman squads just to kill one of these guys with las gunfire. It's going to take a lot. So you really need to slam rounds into them that are high damage. Now, interestingly, there's a couple of things here. I did a video last week on is the Primaris Eradicator finally good? You know what's interesting? I think the Primaris Eradicator is like the perfect counter to these guys. I know it's Lehman Russ, so it's it's going to struggle because they'll just blast it apart. But just looking at its weapon for a second, the Primaris Eradicator finally has an advantage over the Executioner, because the Primaris Eradicator has the potential to do 3 wounds per shot. Yes, it's only a D3, but it has the potential to do 3 wounds per shot. The Primaris Executioner with its plasma cannon can only do 2 wounds per shot. So the Eradicator, it's very niche, and it's statistically you're still only going to do 2 damage, but you have a chance of doing a flat 3 damage with a Primaris Eradicator shot. So that's a feather in the cap. But one thing I think, being realistic, I'm thinking Manticores. Manticores are strength 10. They're AP -2. They can sit further back. You can go full payload on them, and they'll do a flat 3 damage per missile. So then you're looking at you can take 2 Manticores with full payload. Each shot that you AP -2. Each shot that you get through will just flatten one of these guys. So that's pretty good. Demolisher cannons. Each shot will still wound them on 2s. They will only get a 6-up save, if you're ignoring the cover, and you got a D6 damage. So each shot, statistically, should just flatten one of these blokes. Las cannons, yep. Missile launchers with cracked rockets, yep. Cracked grenade launchers, crazy, I know, but they have a D3 damage potential. They're really, these guys, that's what you want to be aiming for. Just, it's go big or go home. Really, guys, what I'm feeling, and I'm going to wrap the video up now because I've thrown some ideas out there, some initial impressions. My last thought on how to deal with the new Marines, if these guys become the main meta choice for troops, we're talking pure infantry again. We're going back to our 7th edition roots. 6th and 7th edition, and to be honest, 8th edition pure infantry was good, but we're going back to pure infantry. And we're going back to go big or go home. Back in 7th, my go-to tactic, which placed me very highly in tournaments and allowed me to beat even some of the top armies out there, like back in the day, Adeptus Mechanicus War Convocation, and even Marine Gladius and Eldar. I was able to beat those lists by using a tried and true tactic called pure infantry, go big or go home. Pure infantry because it just meant that the enemy's lethality was moot. If you can kill a tank in 1 shot, if your cannon has 1 shot and it can blow a Lehman Russ apart in 1 shot, but it can only kill 1 guardsman, you're only going to kill 1 guardsman. But then I just took melter and las cannons for days, and that's what that's what I'm feeling we're going to need to do again now. Bring back the Mordian Melter Hedge. Bring back the las cannons. Just absolutely just turn up to the board with 250 infantry. Every single squad's toting las cannons and melters and or plasmas and melters, and just blow them to pieces. That's how I think we've got to do it. Because at the end of the day, guys, one of the weaknesses that we haven't talked about is that there are only 10 models. So 11 guardsmen out-obsec them. Okay? For each one of these assault heavy intercessors, you can take 6 guardsmen. 6 basic guardsmen. So each one of these heavy intercessors has to kill a guardsman, 1.2 guardsmen every turn. They might be able to do that. They probably can do that. But no, if we're not adding other buffs on, if we're just looking point for point, no buffs for the guardsmen, no buffs for the heavy intercessors. The 6 guardsmen have to kill one of these guys, and one of these guys has to kill 6 guardsmen. There's only five turns in a game. So keep that in mind. I do think that hordes could be the anti-meta here, guys. But I could be totally wrong. First impressions, these guys haven't even hit the field yet. We don't know what they're going to be like. They could be absolutely broken with the new Marine Codex. There could be stratagems galore. There could be characters galore. There could be things that just make them totally broken. And if so, then, that is the way. And we just deal with that. But from first impressions, I don't think these guys are totally broken. I think they're really good. I think they're very tanky, and they have some decent firepower. I feel sorry for knight players, because these guys will just rinse knight players in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. It's just mad. So I also feel bad for Custodes players, because basically you've got Marine Custodes here now. So I actually think the models are really cool, and I think that these guys could be really interesting. I think they could be totally broken, but I'm trying to remain optimistic. What do you guys think? I know there will be a lot of it's more stuff for Marines. Rah! It's like, yeah, I feel that frustration, guys, but just taking that out for 1 second. Feel free to put those comments down below. I'm not you live your best life. But what I'm asking is, amongst those comments, could we also have some maybe tactical insights? Like, have I missed something? Do these guys do you think they're going to replace regular intercessors? Do you think it's better to have more? Are regular intercessors just durable enough? Or are these guys really, really good? Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.